Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the October edition of our RockLock training. Today, we're going to really zero in on a new product. We're going to talk about our 400 millimeter RockLock integrated Tombstone. So if you joined us for this in September, we talked about the same thing, but we wanted to run another month to just make sure that everybody had the opportunity to kind of learn about these new products. And we are recording, so this video will wind up on our new YouTube channel, which will just basically be accessible for our rep agents, our distribution network, to be able to bring these trainings in, show their team, access them on the fly. So you're looking at the work holding water cooler talk. This is a format that we run, a training format we run the second Wednesday of every month, usually in the afternoon. It's only 15 minutes long. We really focus just on the meat and potatoes and getting you and your team in and out of the training so you can get back out there and keep selling. The work holding water cooler talk is really only designed to be about 15 minutes long. So this morning will be a shorter version of our usual RockLock training, but because we're really only going to focus on the one product type, that new product. Like I said, that RockLock 96 integrated 400 millimeter Tombstone from Fifth Axis. But coming up this month, we're going to have the same format for the entire month of October. So today, this replaces our usual static RockLock training. Our work holding water cooler, which will be next Wednesday afternoon, will really just focus on being a Q&A for the new products. And that'll include this RockLock Tombstone we talk about today. It'll include our new pin vise top tooling option. And we're also going to talk about the tooling certificates which are brand new. But that entire 15-minute period is just going to be designed for questions and answers for you and your team to make sure that when we start introducing these new products that we understand them completely. You know, we don't have any kind of questions hanging out in space. And then, of course, the third Wednesday, we'll come back here in the morning and we'll do another 15-minute installment. And we're going to focus on that new pin vise from Fifth Axis. And we'll, again, get into the weeds on that new product, talk about, compatibility, clamping range, all that good stuff. But for today, we're going to talk about the brand new 400 millimeter Tombstone from Fifth Axis. Of course, the item number is an RL96A-4004. Similar to our other product lines in the RockLock category, the A stands for aluminum. So this Tombstone is actually machined from an extruded piece of aluminum. So it allows us to keep the price down and not really skipping ahead. Usually we don't talk about price in these, but since we're only talking about the retail price of this, and we're so excited about what a great value that price tag of $4,995 is going to bring the industry in general. But it's a brand new product. We're looking at high volume manufacturing, right? Let's maximize that pallet potential. If you're on our email, our mailing list, you may have already seen some collateral come over that shows you how this particular system's really geared towards like that EC400 from Haas. Some of those pallet pools where we don't want to stack up a lot of heavy steel, a lot of weighted tombstones. So this lightweight extruded option leaves us plenty of capacity for the top tooling and our workpieces. Fully integrated with our RockLock 96, right? So that really just translates into being work envelope friendly. If you look at some of these pallet pools, there's not a huge envelope. So if we were to take a Tombstone and then a RockLock base and then some top tooling and then a workpiece, you run out of real estate really fast trying to cram that all in a work envelope in a circle. So because it's integrated, we're able to save almost 3 inches side to side, and that's just more room for workpiece. That's more room for top tooling. The versatility, the customer can order this for either an 80 millimeter or a 100 millimeter tap bore pitch. And we'll get into some of those common pallets and kind of who uses what in a few slides from now. But when they order their Tombstones at the point of purchase, we can actually make that base plate to whatever spacing they need for that pallet pool that they have. So there's an image of the new fully integrated extruded 400 millimeter Tombstone. One thing I like to point out right away is not like our other products, this isn't actually a multi-position base. You can see here that it's actually 3 separate RockLock stations. So on some of the other offerings we have, we kind of combine them and it would be like a multi-positioning offering, right? Where your choices are, I can either put 2 on here or 1 in the middle. But because we have the 3 separate offerings, we can load up to 3 fixtures per side, and that's going to be a total of 12 per Tombstone. So when we talk about like dual vise, boom, now we're 24 work pieces per Tombstone. And again, because it's aluminum, because everything's fully integrated, we can do all that. We can get to 24 work pieces and keep that envelope down, keep that weight down. I'd like to just show you like a 1,000-foot view of some of the dimensions we're looking at. Obviously, the ones that kind of come into play is going to be the overall height. So from the bottom to the top, you can see we're at about 639 millimeter. That's going to fit in pretty much every, popular pallet pool brand out there. You can also see the example up here in the top left of your screen. We're talking about this spacing here as far as having a flexible option. So you can see on this particular drawing, this would be for an 80 millimeter tapped bore spread. But we, again, can offer this to the customer for a 100. And again, we'll talk about what kind of makes and model machine tools we're talking about, the difference between 80 by 80 and 100 by 100. But we always like to talk about, that overall height. That's going to be key. And then, of course, what's the accessibility going to look like to the bottom workpiece? A lot of Tombstones that are popular out on the market fail here. And what happens is they have a station that's way too low on the Tombstone. And because of that, accessibility to that bottom workpiece is jeopardized. And it honestly becomes an unusable station depending on the application, the workpiece they're trying to machine. So we tried to pack in a lot of height, a lot of space between the top of the mounting plate to the center position of that first 0-point position, that first RockLock position. So I think your customers are really going to like that. Oh, sorry about that. All right, so questions. What do we need from the customer? If you're the customer watching today, what do you need to provide your Fifth Axis sales professional so that we can help get the right Tombstone selected for you? Well, machine tool make and model is always a huge, we always kind of need to know that. Some examples would be, we talked about that 80 by 80 or that 100 by 100 millimeter tap bore spread of that pallet. So like some examples of 80 by 80, your DMG Mori NHX 4000, your Haas EC 400, those horizontal machines are going to have pallets that have that 80 by 80 millimeter tap bore spacing. And then when you get up into some bigger horizontals like a DMG Mori NHX 5000, that's going to have that 100 by 100. Well, how are you guys supposed to know on the fly if it's 80 by 80, 100 by 100? I'll show you a great trick of the trade here on the next slide. So much like really if you're selling a RockLock in any other situation, along with the make and model of the machine tool, that pallet drawing really helps us. That pallet drawing is just an added insurance policy for us to make sure we get that right Tombstone, that we get the right bore spacing, bore configuration for the customer. So there's no errors when they go to install it. And of course, work envelope, right? Especially if we're going to be working with your client, if we're going to be working with you, if you're the end user watching on how does that work envelope have to look when we stack a vise now on that Tombstone and a workpiece, are we within that work envelope? A great example, some of the new Doosan machine tools, like that 12 pallet changer, you have a 430 millimeter circle. That's it. If you go outside 430, you can't load every pallet, and it's a really tight fit in the side door of the machine. So we really need to know that work envelope, especially if we're putting a lot of fixturing on the outside of that Tombstone. Machine travel is always good to know too, whenever you sell any Tombstone, right? Just because something fits in a machine doesn't mean the Y-axis has enough travel, to run all the way up to that top part. And maybe it can even hit center position of that part. But okay, let's try to machine a circle or a bore or something towards the top of that workpiece. Do we run out of machine travel? Well, if you can get us that information at the inception of the whole sales process, we can confirm that for you. And then of course, anytime we're working on an application for Fifth Axis, work holding, knowing the material type, the stock size, even if it's approximate, that just helps us make sure that when this Tombstone hits the customer's facility, it's ready to bolt up to their machine and they're ready to start making chips. Here's some sales tips and a few tricks of the trade for you, and another 3-dimensional rendering of that brand new RockLock Tombstone. Pallet size, the size of the pallet itself of the machine tool is usually a great indicator of what that tap bore spacing is going to be, right? So most times, if the customer's like, I have a 400 millimeter pallet, most times that's going to translate into an 80 by 80 tap bore pattern. And same thing with a 500 millimeter pallet. If a customer says, yeah, we have 500 millimeter pallets, most times, 99 times out of 100, that's going to be a 100 by 100 tap bore spacing. So that's just a good little trick of the trade to kind of keep in mind. You know, maybe the customer's going to be delayed getting you a drawing. Maybe the customer, there's some companies out there that aren't really as free with their three-dimensional models like Fifth Axis is. So if that's the case, this is a great place to start. Again, that 400 millimeter pallet size is usually an indicator that they've got that 80 by 80 spacing, and that 500 millimeter pallet size is usually a great indicator that it's going to be 100 by 100. And that just helps us make sure that when the customer gets it, that these bores for mounting it are in the right place. Master pallets are still a great add-on sale for these. It's an awesome way to quickly get the offsets of all these individual stations. So instead of sitting there trying to clock everything and trying to find each individual work offset, they can just take a master pallet station to station, just like they would a normal RockLock, and be able to pull that data into the machining program super fast. The model is available. It's not online. But if you have a customer that needs a model of this new product, we do have them and we can share them. We can email them out, and I'd be happy to provide that for you. Another really cool feature is we're actually going to be offering a blank version of this. So we're going to get the extrusion, true it up, but we're not going to put the RockLock features in. So if you have a customer that wants to take advantage of the size, the weight, the cost of this, but they don't necessarily need the RockLock features, they'll be able to buy a blank version of this and drill it and tap it how they see fit. That pricing and that availability is going to be coming soon, but just thought that I would share that with you today. So again, this morning is a quick study. We wanted to keep this about 15 minutes. I don't know if you can hear in the background, we're actually coming to you live from the Wisconsin Manufacturing and Technology Show this morning. But that leaves us about 3 minutes. If there's any questions on this new product, feel free, just jump in and ask, and I'll try to get it answered for you here this morning. Steve, Jeff, Sarah, Derek, anybody?
I have a question, Eric.
Yeah.
So basically that bottom base, it's always blank until it's ordered, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, that's the idea. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we will stock it, I believe, in both variations. But right now, since we're kind of making them we're making them as we go, definitely need to know that ahead of time, especially if the customer needs the 100 by 100.
Okay, got it.
Eric, how's that price stack up compared to, say, our competitors with something similar?
All right, so I love this question. Thank you. So if you were to buy this from like a Lang doesn't offer a fully integrated solution, right? So you have to buy the Tombstone, and then you have to buy all the bases separately. You are probably just for the 0 point. So just for the 96 millimeter 0 point version of this, you're at $10,000. The Tombstone itself is like $7,000. So you're in the $17,000 to $20,000 range for like a version of this from like one of our direct competitors.
And
Chunk doesn't really offer
cover more real estate because it's got the base, then you're adding risers to it.
Right, and we're fully integrated. Great point, Steve. The other thing I like to point out is, the most common way that a customer would probably build this on the fly would be to go get that Tombstone from Tombstone City and then, lick and stick the RockLock bases to the side. That's not going to be as expensive. That's probably going to be, it'd be a lot less than that Lang one. But again, we talk about that work envelope, right? And then having those stacking tolerances where with everything integrated, it's just, there's so many more machining advantages. All right. Anyone else?
Eric, I'm sorry, did you say, so this one is already available and then the blanks are coming a little bit later, right? We're going to get information on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So we already are machining. We've sold this integrated one. This one is ready to rip. You can sell them now. And the fully extruded, just the blank version, I'll have to follow up with Matt Evans, but that should be ready very, very soon.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Awesome. Jeff, question? Perfect. Well, hey, we're coming up on 10:15, exactly 10:15. I want to thank you all for spending a little time with me this morning. Again, this video will be available online shortly. So thank you for jumping in, and maybe we'll see everybody next Wednesday, 2 p.m. Central, and we'll do a quick Q&A on the 3 new products that we released here this last month: Tombstones, tooling certificates, and pin vices. Other than that, I hope everybody has a blessed day, and we'll talk to you soon.
See ya.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks, Eric.
Yep.
Take care.
You too.